election day in this 8th day of November. And for the last 2 weeks, for the last month, everybody's been talking about the importance of voting. And then, of course, you get the whole, if you don't vote, don't complain. You get that whole rhetoric, that jargon, whatever. And this happens every year. And I think that a lot of people really don't understand systems and just how, and when I say systems, I mean how things work. I was trying to fix a wheel on my luggage, and then I started looking at the mechanisms and the bearings and how things rotate, and I was like, oh, this is engineering, this is cool. And by understanding how it works, I was able to fix it to an extent, because I still couldn't replicate, the original manufacturing, but it's just something that would do. But that's kind of how everything in life works. Everything works off a system. So when people say the system is unfair, well, if you know how the system works, then you can manipulate it. But if you don't know how the system works, how can you really say it's unfair? Because what do you have to measure it against? Because any system is measured against its ideal, its ideal self. So we live in a society that's it's not a democracy, it's a republic. And what a republic is where individual voters get to vote on representatives to represent them. In a body of representatives. That's what a republic is. And everybody keeps saying democracy, democracy, democracy. It's not a democracy. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is 51% can oppress 49%. That's what democracy is. And democracy is stupid. Democracy is stupid as far as I'm concerned. But within a republic, in this federal republic that we live in called the United States of America, we have individual states. Like me, I'm from Texas. I'm a Texan, and within these states, with the exception of Louisiana, we have counties. They have parishes. We have counties. Let me get past this truck. I don't want this big red Optimus Prime looking truck. Yeah, so we have these things called counties, and within each county, you have municipalities, and even within those municipalities, you have certain governing bodies, like the school board and all that stuff like that, and all those bodies are made for public participation. So even on the smallest level, you can represent your interests or the interests of those who think like you if you serve on those bodies. And I think that's what's being lost here, because within those bodies, out of those bodies comes your state representatives. And so out of those state representatives come your federal representatives. So it's not like, oh, well, this is a person that nobody knew, or we never heard of this person. This person just came out of nowhere, or this person was bankrolled by a communist provocateur or something like that. So with all that said, I think it's very irresponsible for people to just keep repeating this rhetoric. Go out and vote. Make sure you vote. Vote. It doesn't matter what you believe. Just go ahead and vote. There are consequences for you voting. Certain things like taxes. Taxes are not... taxes are a penalty. Taxes, and most of the taxes, who knows what they really even go towards. We say the taxes for the roads, the gas taxes for the road. They use the tax that you pay at the pump. That's what's used to fix the roads supposedly, or maintain them. You know, all these damn potholes in Houston. You know, they be busting up my low profile tires, and I don't like it. But either way, you know, it's very important that you don't sleep. You know, when we're talking about politics. And something that I did when I was a little younger, when I started growing into my adulthood, and this was like when I was like 26. You know, I started becoming an adult. I stopped thinking like a college student, and I started thinking like a citizen, an adult. And I picked two issues that are near and dear to my heart, and that's education and healthcare. And I think they're all kind of tied in together. And education is important to me because, how you educate the youth is gonna, kind of shape the society in the future. And healthcare is important to me because if you're not healthy, then you cannot really produce anything. Okay? So now, as I've evolved, now the other important thing to me is the economy. Economy, what economy means is how resources are utilized within the household. So, in every household, every person, every one adult person is a household in their own right. They represent a little microcosm of a nation. And what that person provides, the products that they produce, they can trade openly with another person. So you got a little mini economy going on there. And so with that little mini economy, and you got the currency circulating, and I exchange my services or my goods for your goods, and then then I can go out and exchange with somebody else. So now we're building an economy. And so we keep spreading out, and this, that, and the other, and then somebody else offers the same thing I offer, and now it's like, okay, well, who's going to survive in this market? Well, the person with the best product or the person with the best marketing. And that's kind of how economics go. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it's really important for that flow of resources and currency not to be stifled or not to be redirected by legislation. And that's kind of what happens on an everyday basis in this country. And back to one of my original things that were near and dear to my heart, healthcare. That was the guys that they used to steal trillions of dollars from us when they were supposedly trying to fight, the coronavirus. And if you're educated to these things, and when I say educated, I mean when you've done critical analysis of this data that they give you, because in school, a lot of times critical analysis is not required. It's just like I learn and I regurgitate, but I never understand, like, what does this mean? How does it pertain to me? Okay, so when you understand all these things, and then you can see that, okay, well, they're lying. This what they're saying is not that serious. And then you will see, okay, so if they're lying about this, what is my money really going towards? Like, what are they really spending this money on? Then we call for audits. And, that's the whole importance of those little small local bodies, because when they come together, they form a bigger body. You understand? And when the people within these bodies, then there's accountability. So now you don't have just somebody ruling over you from a high place or a high mountain, or Mount Olympus as they call it. So I really think it's sad where we are as a nation, because people vote based on what they feel, and there's no kind of rationale in any of that. If you look at my story, I posted this little silly chick. She was dancing, or she was doing a voiceover saying, I can't convince you to vote. Well, maybe Barack Obama can. Well, how is he gonna convince me to vote? And then what is the implication to that whole, you know, presentation she was doing? The implication was to not only vote, but to vote her persuasion, aka Democrat, Boule, socialist, whatever, you know. And I was kind of tickled with the comments, because everybody was like, nah, this ain't it, sis. Well, not everybody, but there was a good chunk of people talking about, nah, this ain't it, sis, and I'm still not gonna vote, and he ain't doing shit, he ain't did shit for nobody, and he's an extension of Joe Biden or whatever. It was funny, because I'm just like, okay, well, I guess people are starting to see that these politicians don't represent them. But when you understand the system, then you can articulate it better. Why certain people did things that didn't represent their best interests. And that's where education comes in. That's where proper education comes in. So, you know, those are why those things are near and dear to me when we're talking about elections and voting for people. You know, when they put in these people in the school board that have you know, that have power, or, you know, they're power hungry, then, you know, they kind of shape things according to how they see fit. And a lot of these people are not worthy of that kind of seat. You know, just look at the whole mask thing. You know, the masking of children. You know, now they're saying children have speech delays. A lot of learning how to speak is just even, you know, looking at how people's mouth moves. You know, and seeing how you know, how words or sounds are articulated by, you know, how your mouth moves and your tongue and all that stuff like that. You know, so kids that are developing, you know, now they're having speech delays because, you know, they didn't see people's mouths moving. Now people are stuttering and mumbling and all that stuff like that. And, you know, it's really just unfortunate. But nonetheless, you know, it's because of the irresponsibility of the citizens, of the people. And it's just, and I don't like thinking about it. I get upset at times because this is a free country. It doesn't matter what people say. It's about what's on the books. It's about what's on black and white. And that's why people fight so hard to get legislation passed through. Because what is written on the books is all that matters in the first place. It doesn't matter what I say or she says or he says. What matters is what's on the books. All this rhetoric, all this theatricality and deception, powerful agents to people that don't know shit. You know, I think that history should not be taught in schools anymore. I think history should be something that, history should be subject specific. And I said this in a live one time. History should be subject specific. And it should require critical analysis. What was this person thinking, and what was their motivation? What was their end game to these ideals that they had? You know, and other than that, you know, history should be taught, you know, on a public level, you know, to where you know, certain history teachers privatize that enterprise or that industry, whatever. And, you know, it's like, you want to learn this history, then send your kids here. And you want to learn that history, send your kids there. And then, you know, maybe it should, you know, you finish that and, you know, you can turn that in, you can show the school or whatever. If you go to a public school, okay, I learned history, so here's my history credit or whatever. Like, you know, I think that's a better way to teach history. Which goes back to another thing about school choice, you know, which is education. I'm all for school choice. I think that parents should have the choice to send their kids wherever they want. And man, I get really frustrated talking about, look at all these damn campaign signs. I get tired of talking about these issues because these are so damn simple to me. But they hijack the conversation with emotion. they put a face in there. They put Barack Obama's ugly mug, and then everybody just, it's like a trigger. It's like, oh, it's Barack. Okay, so let me vote, you know, for whatever Barack represents. Let me vote for who he endorses and all that. And it even works the other way. You know, look at, you know, every time Donald Trump's like a rock star. He could sell out you know, an auditorium. You know, people come to see Donald Trump. He's very entertaining, very charismatic, and he's funny. You know, but some of these people that he endorses, I'm just like, why the hell would he endorse him or her? You know, he endorsed Dr. Oz over Kathy Barnett, somebody that came from the, quote unquote, came from the mud. You know, they, quote unquote, pulled herself up by her bootstraps. But he endorsed Dr. Oz, which is, I think he's part of the World Economic Forum, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, that goes back to the whole, you know, evoking emotions. Emotions are powerful. That's why you got to master them. You have to think. That God gave you a brain so you can think. Pathos, ethos, logos. I've done a video on this. I've done a 13-minute video on my YouTube channel. Logos is what's being said. It's the word that's being communicated. It's the ideas that's being conveyed. Pathos is the emotion that can be invoked. It's the feeling. You know, that's why they say pathology, diseases. When you're sick, you're feeling something, right? Pathology, pathos. You know, somebody says I'm apathetic. Ap means, you know, ap means like a lack of, or that means a lack of. Pathos, lack of feeling. Apathetic, I don't give a damn. That's what apathy means. Empathy, you know, and then you got compassion or sympathy. You know, simp means together. I feel with you. I feel you. That's what sympathy means. I feel you. Sim or sin means together with. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to policy and politics, I don't care about all that. I'm very apathetic. Very much so. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the idea. It's all about the thought. It's all about the word that's being spoken. And I've learned to listen. And I've learned to listen carefully when people speak. A lot of people do not listen, and a lot of people don't pay attention. You know, simple word that, you know, simple preposition, like of or from, you know, that can totally change the meaning of a sentence or a phrase. And people just don't care. So I really just, I try not to get too frustrated, and I have to check myself. I don't ever want to be the elitist person that thinks they're smarter than everybody. But, you know, some things are what they are. And, you know, I have to be responsible in myself to keep my game tight and keep learning and keep progressing on, you know, towards a better understanding and, you know, a greater revelation of the truth. That's all I can do. And that's what I encourage you to do. And I really discourage you to stop telling people to just go out and vote, because that's irresponsible. You need to know what's on the ballot. You need to know what's at stake. You need to understand the system, and you need to understand how it works. So I've been busy, but that's not an excuse. I'm trying to be more consistent, and I'm probably gonna go live 3 more times this week. Maybe I'll go live this evening. And I really hope Beto O'Rourke loses. I hope he gets smashed in a record fashion. I mean, just some people are just unfit for leadership. And I'm not the biggest Greg Abbott guy. I'm not, but you know, I like Texas is cool the way it is. There's no need to radically change Texas. Some of the things that people vote on are all pathos. Abortion. Anybody that's voting solely on abortion, you don't get it. You don't understand. Straight up, I'm pro-choice. I'm 1,000% pro-choice. Does that mean I support abortion? No. But you see how they how they label the issue. If you're for choice, that means you're for abortion. And if you're pro-life, that means you want to stifle somebody's choice. You show me somebody that's not pro-life. I don't see a lot of people just running out here trying to kill themselves. And you show me somebody that's not pro-choice. You try to tell somebody what to do, they're like, you can't tell me what to do. They're going to get pissed off. So everybody, in essence, is pro-choice. So it's like, why are you trying to take somebody else's choice away? Which is now creates a philosophical, I guess, questioning. Does the fetus have a choice? Does the baby in the womb have a choice? But I don't even think that's the question. I think what the question is do we value life? Do we value life? That's what the real question is. How sacred is one's body? Because if you're a woman, you just let somebody smash and bust all up in you, and you don't really know the person, you don't really care about the person, like, you really don't care about yourself, because there's consequences to that. And people get mad, they be like, well, if men can do it, women. No, it's different. It is way different for somebody to invade you, somebody to go up in you. That's crazy. Like, for you to just let somebody just go in you, that's a reflection on how you view yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And to boot, after all that happens, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to terminate this consequence of my irresponsibility, then it's like, you're going to let somebody else put something all up in you. Like, my goodness. So I'm like, that's how I'm looking at it right there. But, for somebody that really valued their own body and their own life, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And that's where that's where politics is downstream of culture. Because when you have a culture that fosters these kind of, lack of values, you get these problems. And when you get these problems, then, a problem is just what? Disorder. And the whole reason for laws and parameters and boundaries is so to keep things in order. If you go to the Bible and you read the book of Romans, you'll see that somebody that's orderly, somebody that can live lawfully, does not need laws. You don't need laws to tell you what to do if you already live lawfully. Anyway, man, that's really all I got, man. I'll holler at y'all.